How y'all doing this morning? Hey. My name is Brian Perry. I'm honored and thrilled and pleased to be here serving One World. Thank you to Asha for making that possible and really being a good friend and advocate of mine for a long time. And we wrote a song together a while back I think we're both real proud of, and I know she's a gift to your community. And anyway, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to Reverend Melanie for giving me the opportunity to be of some service to you this morning for a few minutes. I am a songwriter and a singer. I'm a speaker and a life coach and an author, voiceover actor. I'm very focused, as you can tell. And also the guy who writes on the back of his car, if you notice the car in the parking lot, that's me. But at the end of the day, what I really think my life's work is about is taking notes on our journey. Taking notes on what I'm experiencing, what I'm seeing you experience, and then kind of distilling that down to maybe some practical tips that can help us take these great truths that we want to be living and live them in our lives in very practical, meaningful ways. So that's my goal today, is to help us get there. But before I do that, I want to make sure to tell you how Melanie talks about you, because I thought it was so great. When I was talking to her on the phone, and I was asking her, tell me about your community. Tell me about One World. And what makes it special. And she said, what makes it special is it's not just Sundays. What makes it special is that these people literally show up in each other's lives. I'm using literally correctly here. That you literally show up in each other's lives and are there to support each other and to live the values that you deepen your understanding of on Sundays. But that's who you are as a community. I think that's so beautiful. And far too rare, and I'm glad to hear that you are here to make sure that doesn't stay rare. So thank you for that, and thank you for the opportunity to be of some service today. She did mention to me as well that the theme was going to be independence coming up this month, which made sense. It's July. It's what happens in churches in July. And so you have, the funny thing about talks is that you have to decide your title before you've written the talk, so they can put it on things. So I was like, I'm going to call it Declaring Independence from Suffering. That sounds good. And then the more I sat with that, the more I went, actually, that sounds really good for me. That feels really true for me. And I want to kind of share with you how I got there. There's an intersection for me of two ideas that are really important on a weekend like this. We talk about independence on weekends like this. We also talk about heroes on weekends like this. And I'm interested in what makes a hero a hero. You know, I think, and now I'm talking about the Marvel Comics thing, heroes. That requires a meteorite. I'm talking about what is it that makes people heroic, the ones that we choose to celebrate, the real life action heroes around us. And what makes them heroic, in my experience, isn't the momentary thing that they did in a disaster. It isn't their actions specifically in the ways that they're so different and extraordinary from us. It's the ways that they're the same as us. It's the ways that we can see ourselves in them, but somehow, in the midst of dealing with the same barriers that we face every day, they push through those barriers and rise into a greater capacity. That greater capacity that Marianne Williamson's talking about when she talks about our deepest fears, not that we're inadequate. When she says, we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, talented, gorgeous, fabulous? Who are you not to be? That's the hero that's in me. That's the hero that's in you. And that's the hero we're striving to be. So that was interesting to me. And I got to thinking, what are the ways that I get in my way in that pursuit, right? It seems like yes. What are the ways that I get in my way? What are the things that most hold me back? And for me, it did come back to suffering. And what do I mean by suffering? Okay, when I'm talking about suffering, I'm not talking about just pain. We all know what it's like to suffer through pain. I'm also talking about joy. What I'm talking about is sort of living under the influence of the extremes of life. Yes, we are human beings having a spiritual experience. But the human part of that experience can really distract us from the spiritual part. And in my experience, it's the ups and the downs, it's the extremes is where I end up running into problems. I react, oh, this great thing just happened, my life is made. And then I have to recover from that. Oh no, my car broke down, my life is over. And now I gotta recover from that. It's this react and recover that leaves me in this sort of perpetual, varying degrees of suffering. Are you with me? And I find that that's the biggest thing that prevents me from stepping into my greatest self, my highest self. Elizabeth Gilbert, won't be the last time you hear me say that name today, author and thought leader, had the opportunity to hear her speak recently, and you may have been there as well. And at that talk, one of the things she talked about that really became the key to this talk was absolute zero. The scientific notion of absolute zero. That absolute zero is the center. Everything off that, whether it's a positive number or a negative number, is a departure from absolute zero. Okay? She was saying we have to get a better understanding of the role that our emotions play in our lives, the feelings play in our lives. Because when she said, when I'm having a great time, something wonderful's happening, that's a departure from my absolute zero. When I'm going through something awful, that's a departure from my absolute zero. The goal is still the same. Get back to that absolute zero. Now we might call that in this space, your God space. We might call that sense of being centered and peaceful. That sense of being solid. You know what I'm talking about? That calm and peaceful and radiant place. That's the absolute zero we're shooting for. And joy and pain are departures from that. The poet Rudyard Kipling talked about this in his poem, If, which I never seem to remember well, but I finally wrote it down for a change. And he said, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Presumably a poem to his son. But I love that. If you can greet these two as the impostors they are, then everything will be yours. So I feel like I've been made ready to declare independence from suffering. I feel like I've been made ready by the great opportunities that I thought were going to make my life. Those moments, those jobs, those relationships. I feel like I've been made ready by those relationships that fell apart, those jobs that went away, those illnesses that happened. I feel like I've been made ready to suffer no more, to declare independence from suffering, because we are these beams of light made to shine, as Marianne refers to. But how do we get there? Well, that's why I love the second reading. And thank you, John, for doing that so well. That's why I love the second reading, because that's where A Course in Miracles defines what we call a holy instant. And a holy instant are those aha moments, those really big aha moments, where suddenly we go, oh, wait, this is all going on over here, but I remember myself. Here I am. The trick is we kind of have to decode those holy instants, because they come to us in the language of our humanity. They come to us in moments of extreme pain. They come to us in moments of extreme joy. So it's up to us to unwrap and decode those gifts, as if we're aliens dropped from another planet at a dining room table and somebody says, eat with that fork and knife. And we're like, I don't have any idea what a fork and knife is. We have to decode these gifts and unwrap these opportunities that the universe is sending us to return to our absolute zero, to return to our God space, to return to that sense of who we really are. And so I think I'm ready to live there. I think I'm ready to declare my independence from suffering. Are you with me? Great. So what I want to do today is talk about three things: pain, story, and action. Pain, story, and action. What I'm going to do is I think each one of those things gets in our way in a unique way. So we're going to transform it. I'm going to give you a tool with each one of them that you can take home and start using today. Okay? We're going to start with pain. And the reason I'm using pain, I want to be clear up front, is because it's the easiest one. Okay? You can substitute joy throughout as I'm talking here. It's the same thing. They're both departures from that God space. I'm using pain because it's the easier argument. Nobody wants to live over here in pain land. It's a hard argument to say, all kinds of great things are happening, I shouldn't live there. That's a hard argument to make. But it's the same argument. Okay? Pain. Why get to know these emotions? I mentioned that I'd say Elizabeth Gilbert's name more than once. Here I go. In her talk, one of the things that she said, the reason we have to get our heads around pain is because it's a feature, not a glitch. It's a feature of the human experience, not a glitch. And the sooner we can get our heads around that, the sooner we can unlock the richness of that feature. Just like if you started a new program on your phone, and you kept having to move past this one screen, well, sooner or later you're going to go, wait a minute, maybe I'm supposed to be on that screen. Maybe that's a feature here. Well, that's what we have to do with pain. Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian, talked about this as well in his TV show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, which is exactly what it sounds like. Comedians in cars getting coffee. It's an internet-based show that I totally recommend. He was doing an interview with The Daily Show's Trevor Noah, and he was talking about pain. And he said, here's the thing I've decided about pain, Trevor. Pain is knowledge rushing in to fill a gap. Pain is knowledge rushing in to fill a gap. Stub your toe, knowledge. There's a coffee table there and you're not paying attention to where you're going. Pain is knowledge rushing in to fill a gap. Suddenly sick, knowledge. You're not taking care of yourself in the way you need to be. Pain is knowledge rushing in to fill a gap. We know this already. We hear about this. Louise Hay talks about this like crazy. All of her stuff is about, hey, when you suddenly have pain in your back, that's knowledge waiting for you. Time to change your thinking about something. Pain is knowledge rushing in to fill a gap. So how do I access that knowledge in that moment of pain that's so acute? Whatever that pain might be. Whether it's a loss of a relationship, or a job, or literal pain. How do I access that there? Well, that's why I love this book. Got my props here. It's called The Art of Possibility. It's by Rosamund Stone Zander and Benjamin Zander. Rosamund Stone Zander is a family therapist. They're related, obviously. And Benjamin Zander, her husband, was the director of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra and the conductor of the New England Conservatory. The reason I mention that is he said every time he started with a new class at the conservatory, he will take that class at the beginning of the class. And if you're not familiar with a class at someplace like the conservatory, these are uber-trained students. Okay? These are musicians who were begotten like, they got like begotten. I just was watching Philadelphia Story over the weekend with Katharine Hepburn and Jimmy Stewart, and she said, you know, there's a line in that. You've been gotten out of more trouble. Been gotten. Never used that phrase in my life. Sorry, I do that. Squirrel. Where was I? So, on the first day of class with these students who had like sort of Navy SEAL level training for musicians, okay? To my mind, they sort of actually trained the passion out of them to a large extent to make them so disciplined. He's like, I want to turn you into artists. And so I need something from them. So when you're playing, and you suddenly feel like, I made a mistake. Oh no, I made a mistake. I want you to stop. I want you to put the bow down the stand. I want you to put your hands in the air. I want you to smile big, and I want you to go, how fascinating. Okay, try that with me. We're going to play our instruments here. And then, uh-oh, we made a mistake. So we're going to take the bow. We're going to set it on the stand. We're going to put our hands in the air. We're going to smile big, and we're going to say, how fascinating. Exactly. Why do we do that? Well done, by the way. Why do we do that? Because that moment of saying, how fascinating, opens the door to curiosity, and that's your first tool. The moment you bring curiosity, you're asking questions. The moment you bring curiosity, you're seeking to understand, to unfold, to explore, to find that knowledge rushing in to fill a gap. So when we bring curiosity to pain, we transform it into information. To feel pain is human, but pain is information. And information is fuel. And fuel gets you where you want to go. So we transform pain by using curiosity. How fascinating. And change that into information. Which brings us to story. Story. We love story and new thought. It's right there in the name. New thought. We like to make new thoughts. We like to have new stories in our lives. And the reason we love stories is because in new thought communities we know we become the story we tell about ourselves. You think in a story, you put words to that story, you put deeds to that story, you're living that story. It's just that simple. Okay? However, the Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, we are not disturbed by things, but by the view we take of them. We are not disturbed by things, but by the view we take of them. He expands on that. He wants to be very clear. He's like, I mean that things don't have meaning in and of themselves. We are not disturbed by things, but by the view we choose to take of them. The tall, lanky philosopher standing in front of you says this, After I went through a divorce and subsequent bankruptcy, good times over here in Painland, you know, plenty of knowledge rushing in to fill gaps. I was saying to my folks a lot at that time, I said, I know 3 things for sure. I don't know the plan. I don't know what stuff means. And I get myself into trouble when I pretend either one or two. Not that I'm not co-creating, but when I decide that I know exactly what the plan's supposed to look like, or when I decide that I know exactly what this thing that happened means, that's where my problems come up. That's where I run into problems. I also had this minister friend of mine who was talking to me about the passage in the Bible about turning the other cheek. And he was saying that it doesn't mean what you think it means. And he said, if I've got this cheek turned to you, it's not that I want you to hit me on that cheek. Where am I looking right now? There, right? So if I turn the other cheek, where am I looking now? Over there. Perspective. Do this with me. Turn your left cheek to me. Your left cheek's going to be that way. Now turn the other cheek. Did you notice that you're looking at 2 different walls just then? Right. When we turn the other cheek, we literally turn the other cheek. We literally turn perspective. We literally look at the thing differently. Perspective. We can transform our story that we're living by taking that information we got from that pain, from that joy, and the curiosity we brought to it, using perspective. Let me put that in perspective, if I may. I'll use the analogy from a gym. It might not land the same for everybody, but I think you're going to get the point. So at the gym, there's an apparatus called a bench press. It's called a bench press on account of it's a bench upon which you lay and from which you press things. Aptly named. Okay. Imagine you're going to the gym and you do, say, you're doing like 3 sets on that bench press. So like 3 sets of 10 reps. You're doing pretty easily. It's not, you're getting through it, no problem. So this time you're at the gym, you're like, maybe it's time to add weight. And maybe one of your friends is like, man, you've been doing that for a while, how about you add some weight? So you throw a bunch more weight on there. And you call that muscle-bound guy over, you know, the one that seems to live at the gym. You call him over to spot you. And you get ready. And you take that bar and pull it off the thing. And immediately you're like, this was a bad idea. This is a bad idea. You get it down, you get it down, you get it down. And you push it up. I got one up. I got one up. Okay, let's go get it. Let's go get it. And you get 2 up, and the gym guy's going, okay, you got 1 more. I got 1 more. I got 1 more. Okay. Oh, and you get 3, and he's like, 1 more. Like, no, man, screw you. 1 more. Okay. And you go down, and you push it up, and you push it up, and you push it up, and you clang, and you re-rack the weight. And what happens next in the gym? There's a lot of breath from doing that. In the gym, what happens next is you get up from the bench, you fist bump the muscle-bound guy, thanks, bro. Shake it off a little bit, take a little sip of your water, kind of wander around a little bit, wander over to the mirrors, you know, the big mirrors, you know, and do one of these things. And you're like, I think I'm getting bigger already. I'm getting stronger. I think it's working. Because in the gym, taking on more weight and not being able to do as much with it is a sign that you're getting bigger. It's a sign that you're getting stronger. It's a sign that it's working. Perspective. So when you're dealing with pain in your life, when you are given the holy instant of pain in your life, you can unwrap that. You can use the information you get from curiosity, plug that in to that story that you're telling about that pain, change your perspective, and suddenly it's working. It's working for your highest good. Are you with me? And so we take pain and transform it with curiosity. We take story and we transform it with perspective. And by the way, this isn't just motivational stuff. This is work. This is what works. This is literally how you change your life. I've got to stop using literally today. There was a scene in a TV show called Newsroom. Jane Fonda's character, as written by Aaron Sorkin, talks about that word, literally. And she said, do you know that they've expanded the definition of that word to include figuratively? Which means we literally don't have a word that means literally anymore. Anyway, so that brings us to action. The thing about action is this. We all want to take action in our lives, and we set new goals all the time. It's the nature of the human experience. But we want that action to result in lasting change. And too often it doesn't. And why is that? I think that we miss the mark in how to sort of supercharge our efforts around action. And I think that mark has been set for us for many, many, many years. I want to talk about sort of our role in co-creating and God's role in co-creating when it comes to action. Well, let's start with Gandhi. Most famous Gandhi quote, we all know it. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Rolls off the tongue, fits nicely on a tote bag. You know, we've come to really associate that that's Gandhi. And if you ask anybody who Gandhi is, oh, he's the be the change you wish to see in the world guy. That's Gandhi. I think, however, we've done ourselves a disservice, and we distance ourselves from the meaning of that notion. Yes, he wanted to impact global change, and yes, he did that. Okay, but that wasn't his point. His point was, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. If you would like to see your world change, you must be that change. It's very specific to your world, to your life, to how you're showing up, to your job, to your relationship, to your gas station attendant. How are you behaving in the world? If you must be the change you wish to see in the world. And there's Lao Tzu, another bumper sticker quote. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Does that mean 1,000 miles? I'm there. No. Again, a literal notion. The journey of 1,000 miles does begin with one step. The good news is it continues with one step, and one step, and one step. That's the point. That's how you get there. You don't get there any quicker. I mean, I get there quicker than you because I'm ginormous. But that's how you get there, one step at a time. We know this, again, because of giants in the New Thought world like Louise Hay, who remind us all the time, if you want to change your life, it starts today. I approve of myself. I approve of myself. You know, the starting mantras, you know, the next time you're dealing with back pain. Oh, my back hurts. What's the story? I gotta tell you, Sydney, my back's killing me. I've had this bad back for the worst. And no, but Louise Hay says, oh, my back hurts. I trust the process of life. Everything supports me. I trust the process of life. Everything supports me. We know that it's one step at a time. We experience that, but we're still resistant to it. We want it done now. I want to show you how your thoughts really do work, how it is working. Okay? I'm going to do a little experiment that I've never tried before. Probably should have before I started, but we're going to give it a whirl. I've been going through a growth opportunity where I'm a singer, and about 6 months ago I decided I was really going to re-engage my singing career. And when I started trying to sing again, I found that I couldn't, that I was choking, and continue to choke and cough whenever I get into my full voice. It's been growing. It's been a really powerful growth opportunity. And in the work of doing that, I've been working with a vocal therapist. And in our work, something happened that I went, oh my gosh, that's so powerful. So I want you to try this with me. First, I want you to just repeat after me and say this phrase in your normal voice. I love and approve of myself.
I love and approve of myself.
Good, I'm glad you do. You want to. It's a good thing to do. Now this time I want you to repeat after me again. But this time I want you to imagine that your voice is way back here. It's way back here in your throat. It's very, very small. It's like your mouth is right here on top of your vocal box. And that's all you got. This is it right here. It's very small and very tight. Say with me, I love and approve of myself.
I love and approve of myself.
Great. Now this time I want you to put your hand on your nose and pretend like you smell something bad. Go. You feel that buzz there? A little buzz up in the top of your nose? This time when you say this phrase, I want you to imagine that buzz all up here. I want you to imagine that you are sending your voice directly to your nose, directly to the front of your face. Okay? All your voice is going right there. When you repeat after me and say, I love and approve of myself.
I love and approve of myself.
Did you feel the difference? So the difference between I love and approve of myself and I love and approve of myself isn't that you put something on, isn't that you swallowed something different. It's simply that you thought your voice to a different place. That's how it works. That's how your life works. You do think it to a different place, but you need to take actions too. Well, you're in luck. Just about every one of us has something like this in our pocket. On this, it has a timer. Gosh, I wish I could make more changes in my life. Gosh, I wish I had more time to read. 5 minutes, go, read. Stop. Is that 5 minutes more than you read yesterday? You bet it is. When you go to the gym the first time, do you go, I'm going to start benching 300 pounds? No. You start with what you can do. Gosh, I wish I had more time to meditate. 3 minutes, go. Mike Dooley, one of our great New Thought authors, he talks about with manifesting work, he's like, I don't want you to do more than 5 to 7 minutes a day. I don't need you to put hours and hours in. Gosh, I wish I could find a new job. 10 minutes on your resume today. Go. Start a timer. When the timer goes off, stop. My point is that it's little things. And why do the little things matter? Why? Because you're retraining your brain, right? You're taking the information you got by applying curiosity to your pain or your joy. You're taking that information and you're injecting it in your story to give your story a new perspective, one you'd actually like to grow, one you'd actually like to live. Then you take that new story and go, gosh, how does this story differ from what I've been doing? And how can I right now start doing things differently? How can I right now start taking different kind of steps, different kind of actions in my life? And here's God's part. This is the good news. God is your personal chef. Okay? And that is to say that God prepares whatever you would like to eat. God is going to prepare it. And sometimes we get in ruts in our lives where we show up to the dinner table every day going, it's really good, thank you. No, it's good, it's good. Here, don't eat this. You know, that's not really what I want. But when we do that, we're doing ourselves a disservice. All God wants you to do is little bits at a time, a few minutes at a time, a few thoughts at a time, say, this is what I really want. Don't know how to explain what you want, what flavor you're looking for. I don't know how to say this, God. I just don't like sweet things for dinner. My dinner needs to be more salty. I like salty. I don't like, you know. Okay, God's like, great, I didn't know that. That's good information. I can work with that. You know? And then you learn more, and you learn more, and you learn more. And so you start providing more and more information for that personal chef to work on your behalf. And walk on your behalf is perfect, actually. Because when you're changing your thoughts, changing your actions by small increment, you're giving life itself information about what you truly want. And that's how you walk 1,000 miles. One step at a time. One little increment at a time. By transforming pain, curiosity. Transforming story by choosing a new perspective in it. And transforming action into real change. Lasting change. As I wrap up, I want to show this. There's a moment from the TV show, Madam Secretary. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. It's, as the name implies, it's a TV show about the Secretary of State. On the show, she's having a conversation with the president, who's a decorated Vietnam veteran, and a hero among us. And he's talking about a moment in Vietnam when they were under attack, and they were returning fire. And he said, I was returning fire. I was returning fire. And I turned, and there was a civilian woman holding a baby. And she said, what did you do? And he said, I stopped. And she said, why did you stop? And he said, it was a flash of a feeling at best. It was a flash of a feeling at best. What we're working to do here is to take those flashes of a feeling, those holy instants that we're given, and decode them, so that we can step into that highest, most heroic self, that shining self that Marianne Williamson refers to. We can begin to live under the influence of holy instants rather than extremes. where we can begin to see those extremes as the gifts they are, the flash of a feeling that they are, the opportunity they are to return to that centered God space. And when we start to do that, when we start to greet pain and joy with curiosity, we start to create our stories with a perspective that we can choose using what we've learned. And we start to take those stories and put them in action by taking one step toward being the change we wish to see at a time. Well, that's when we actually begin to live our independence from suffering, to declare it with the lives we're living. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts about any of the books that I've referenced here, or artists, or questions or comments for me, I know people don't like to have the emails anymore. I'm going to give you mine. YesBrianPerry@gmail.com. YesBrianPerry@gmail.com. I spell it with an I because I spell it correctly. and I would be happy to talk with you further. Thank you for the honor of being able to serve you today.